The ghost ship drifts in a mist cool and barnacled. Past the pier or here the anchor, long lifted, sick at the heart yet knows no breath. But nevertheless, they move as they've always known how to move. My family is full of hoarders. They acquire pain they don't know how to let go of. Their boxes are my family heirlooms, passed down from attic to child. The men in my family have an unusual capability for suffering. They were born with boats that capsize in the slightest change in tide, so I was taught to seek shelter in my own body. Unadulting waves are only capable of saturating the skin. So the only thing I will drown in is undiagnosed depression. I do not beg God to turn my skin into light. Because I'm afraid I've already become a ghost. Gen Z is known as Generation Anxiety. While my generation has done a great job at destigmatizing mental illness, we still have work to do in the older generation. Because mental health is hereditary. Psych Central, December 6, 2018 furthers. Bipolar disorder has a 90% chance of passing on to the next generation. Depression and anxiety, 40 to 60%. And personality disorders up to 70%. We have to recognize where mental illness is. And it starts with the family. So, in the poetry Boxes and Infected Lineage by Asia Rain, When Grief Becomes a Prayer by Osman Degelman, and The Ghost Ship by Christina Hazard. A single voice narrative. Because generations don't deserve to suffer anymore. I was born in a shark cage underwater, surrounded by blood and teeth and salt water and suffering. God, please take it from me. It's the only thing I can taste. The burnt metal of every suicide attempt stains my teeth, drips from the corners of my mouth. I never learned that depression is better at taking up my own space than my body. Depression. Fall out of my mouth like confession, like promise. Like it wants to be memorialized or something by speaking it into existence. Easier than teeth and blood and salt water and open mouth trauma. Easier than getting better or wanting to get better. Just how many times do I have to pray to the God if I want to go home? While he buries my family in disease that steals the help me from our throats. I cry hot tears into his shirt and he doesn't say a single word. Sometimes it's easier to hand off the shame and guilt that comes as a descendant of your family disorder if you can pin it on a stranger, right? I hope my parents never do the spring cleaning they always talk about. It's just so many of these boxes are mine. I open a box labeled Mom. Watch her care for her dying father. Watch her spill over when she gets the call. My mother never cries, but when she does, it gets shoved into her box. I'm sick of seeing my mother lose posture by carrying the weight of the family. My father was born with boxes tied to his chest and takes up an entire storage unit. When I open inside, I see him care for his dying mother. Watch him bury his sister. My father's father never told him he loved him until he was on his deathbed. I feel like my father is an oil spill drowning. I feel like my father is taking us with him. I want to let go of the dead weight, but I was born with anxiety as my greatest inheritance. Sometimes it's easier to let go and sit in the belly of a whale instead of feeling too much. Sometimes it's easier to come up coughing up salt water and suffering. But at least I'm all right today. At least my mother was born with hands shaped like buckets. At least my sister is an entire lifeboat. At least the women in my family learned how to swim. My grandmother was born with boxes tied to her chest. Never sealed, never open, always kept shut. She said nothing happened to her. But we always knew something happened to her. She died with her story sealed shut. So, I'm letting every ghost kiss my knuckles. I'm letting God finally say my own goodbyes. Mental illness is the rewrapped Christmas gift of my family that nobody ever wanted. Mental illness falls from broken branches of my family tree. And I wonder how long until I fall from the tree of my scarred genealogy. Just when will the vine no longer sustain me? My great-grandmother does not ask God for my forgiveness for my own existence. Lets 4 generations of suffering soak into a mattress, and she lights it on fire. Says, "You need not be cold, child. For the Lord taught me this was the way home," and the whole room becomes her casket. A winding river of my own family disease, and I feel myself coming over a waterfall. If I jump out now, I could survive. If I jump out now, I could survive, but I don't know if I want to. I never learned how to swim or come up for air. I am drowning. I am leaking into the corners of all the dark rooms. If I can't deny that my illness is pre-existing, what will happen when I land in uncharted waters? What will happen when no one sees the SOS spilled out in sand? God of broken necks and bruises and antidepressants for breakfast. God of broken souls and still beating hearts. I just cannot bring myself to shout anymore. The ghost ship drifts in a mist quiet and barnacled. Past the pier or here, how death is so directionless. Yet we touch your bitten planks.